Insider podcast here on Philly Sports Network with myself, Liam Jenkins. You know the score by now. All things Eagles related, the last 7 days, wrapped up and put inside a brown carrier bag because, well, we've run out of inanimate objects to put it in right now, so a brown paper bag will have to do. I'm for one and really happy. Before we get to the analogy and stuff, and I guess how important the move is for the Eagles and what we can expect from the Eagles moving forward with Matthews back in the fray, I do want to put a personal touch on this, not in terms of like the analogy and my connection to it, but in terms of my relationship to Jordan Matthews, because a lot of people don't know. Like, I put it on Twitter recently, and for those of you who don't follow me, at Liam Jenkins PSN, without Jordan Matthews, PSN may not be in the spot it's in now. Like, it would still exist, it would be around, but it may not have had the boost or the jump that it took in the last few years, because at 19 years old, I'm 24 now, I know I look about 17, and I sound about 15, so beggars really can't be choosers here. But I tweeted Jordan Matthews. And I said, hey man, it'd be like great to interview one day. And a few people that liked my work started liking it and saying, yeah, give him a shot, like do it, yeah, it's cool. And I was thinking, oh, that's sweet, but he's not going to reply. And he DM'd me. He didn't have to. Now, I know for a fact that if you want to interview a player with the team now, you have to go through the team's PR stuff. So you can't do this stuff. Like, it shouldn't be a thing, right? And Matthews DM'd me and was like, let's set something up. And he initially gave me his email address and was like, right, I'll send questions your way. And he was like, actually, it might be easier over a phone call. So I phoned up Jordan Matthews, and 19-year-old Liam was bricking it because it was my first proper interview, really, with anyone of notoriety. And looking back on it, like, obviously, I can see, I've changed a lot since then, and my interviewing skills have got better, but I wouldn't have had that jump without Jordan Matthews. If he hadn't taken time out of his day to talk to a 19-year-old kid in England, who at the time ran a small sports blog that was getting, I don't know, maybe like a few thousand views a week, which, now seems crazy compared to where we are. So we spoke on the phone, we spoke about the relationship he had with Carson Wentz, and the fact that he wanted to gel with Carson. He wanted to make sure he was someone he could be friends with off the field. He said that's the most important thing for him with a quarterback, is that what's the relationship? Are you friends on the field? Does it stop there? Or is this someone like a brother? Is this someone you can talk to? And obviously they bonded through their mutual love of religion, I suppose, and their mutual beliefs and morals within that. And that's been reflected through the AO1 Foundation and a lot of stuff off the field. But I know I harp on about this story a lot, but hearing that Carson Wentz's dog Henley had puppies, Carson gave one to Jordan. The two hit the Novacare complex in May for OTAs about 3 days before anyone else, just to get working as a duo, to build on that rapport, to build on that chemistry. That's different to staying after practice when you're losing, when there's a problem. This was proactive. This was Wentz to Matthews. Just those two. No one else. Just a rookie quarterback and a slot receiver. I always have respect for that. Then a year later, this is for the real PSN OGs now, like for guys who've been around for years, I wanted to do an e-magazine called Minus Equals Plus, right? And the idea of that, I've still got it. If anyone wants it, like, I'm happy to put it up. Like, it was a really fun project. And essentially the sentiment of it was, in every negative, there's a positive, all right? So, like, in every minus equals a positive. It was really cool. And we had interviews with Trey Burton, a few Flyers players, just about life. Just about how you go about day-to-day. This was like The Athletic before The Athletic, right? So, like, with Trey Burton, it was about how being a father has impacted his life, and how kids go to the Novacare complex at training camp, and they don't know them as Jordan Matthews and Carson Wentz. Or Zach Ertz. They don't see them as stars. They call Uncle Carson or Uncle Jordan. And I found something like that so touching, that the innocence of a child who's like 3 or 4 years old can go to like an Eagles practice. Like, they don't know. They don't know that these players are the heroes of thousands and thousands of people. They don't know that they're being watched by millions on a Sunday. That's just their uncle. That's Uncle Carson at work. And I love that. And that was the sort of thing that magazine really wanted to implement. So if you do want to read it, I'm happy to dig it out and put it up to... It was a purchase before, but I'll happily make it free. We only ever got round to one issue. Like, it took me about 3 months to produce. But I reached out to Jordan Matthews again. And he obliged again. Didn't have to. Really, really didn't have to. So that was 2 interviews. The guy didn't have to do it. He's a wide receiver, playing for the Eagles. I think it was like February time, like just after the season. And he gave me a second interview. And that interview for me was a lot more personal. Because it was about his faith. It was about his family. It was about getting married. It was about being a father. And it was about the man behind the face mask. The man that, you know, when he picks up an injury, has to reevaluate life and tap into that religion and realise who he is. And really, I guess, it's tough, but you find yourself in those instances, right? It's easy to lose yourself, but Matthews was so heavily reliant on the Bible scriptures and that faith that it kept him going. And it was a fascinating interview. It really was. And like, without that support for me, I wouldn't be in the spot I am, because it helped me a lot with my interviewing. Like, I'm getting a bit teary about it now, because the idea that he would give that time to me, even now, like, I mean, this isn't arrogance or confidence or anything. This is, for me, like, just, I guess looking back, like, PSN over the last 5 years has grown so much, right? To the point our YouTube channel is now on 15,000 subscribers, or almost. That will get the soppy announcement when that hits. That our website is now getting like hundreds of thousands of views a month. It wasn't when I was 19. I was working 2 jobs to keep the site going when I was 19. I was just itching and like busting my ass every day on a different time zone, on like 3 hours sleep to get it off the ground. And he gave me a shot twice. Didn't have to. Really didn't have to. And then, in the Eagles-Jags game last year at London, the Eagles put up a story about me, which I found really, really, really humbling. That was one of the most like ridiculous moments of my career. And just about like, you know, an English fan about the Eagles makes a blog. Like, I get it. It links in with the Jags. It's great for their PR. Looks fantastic. It massively helped me get some, I suppose, notability and some respect from people that previously probably hated me. And the writer that published that, Graham Foley, who interned at the Eagles, I think he now covers Temple, fantastic writer, do go and follow him on Twitter, he spoke to Jordan Matthews. And Matthews then in that article gave a quote on me, said, I still follow his progress, like, it's great, he's doing well, he was a nice guy that deserved the opportunity, and like, I wanted to cry, because like, if you've been around PSN a while, like, every off-season we put up a lot of prospect content, like, we interview a lot of players. We've had some first-round picks, we've had some land with the Eagles, we've had some undrafted guys, but we have a lot of players. A lot of players. I've done interviews with, like, Eagles legends and, you know, Asante Samuel I've spoken to a few times. Of all the players that I've spoken to, there is no one like Jordan Matthews. Like, I don't know what it is. He's the most humble, nicest guy you could meet. Incredibly kind, generous with his time. He's not, you don't feel like a burden asking questions. He's happy to get into a very comfortable sort of talking environment. And you don't get that with NFL players very often, because it is always in a time constraint. Or there is a sort of, not ego, but there kind of has to be. To play a position in the NFL, knowing you're one of the best at what you do on the globe, there has to be a sense of ego. Like Asante Samuel, I don't fault him for it at all, but he was a very different character to Jordan Matthews, right? But that I guess bond, and I don't want to call it that because it sounds, I mean, it's only like a couple of interviews, but I'll never forget that, and I'll always be so thankful. So for me, seeing Jordan Matthews come back to Philadelphia again was amazing for me, because I felt personally like, I guess overwhelmed with emotion, like, he's got another shot. And it couldn't happen to a more deserving bloke, because he works his ass off, great chemistry, like, we all know the reasons why he's come back, right? But there's no one more deserving of it. If you want to talk about like someone who deserves that opportunity, in the same way he afforded me the opportunity, I'm so thankful the Eagles have afforded him another, because not just what he does on the field, and we will get to that, but the man he is unbelievable. Like, you couldn't, like, if I ever want to raise a kid, I want it to grow up with the ethics and the views and the morals that Jordan Matthews has, because the guy is just on another level of, I think, humility. And it's something that's very rare in a world that is so obsessed with materialism, with money, with flexing, with clout. You don't get that. Like, you hear about wide receiver divas all the time. Matthews isn't that. And, yeah, I know this is probably not the angle you're expecting with this podcast, but I just wanted to share it, because at the end of the day, you guys have allowed me to be myself, and I'm eternally grateful for that. And that was a big building block for me, just being able to have that connection with Jordan Matthews, and I wanted to share it.